Hey everybody, welcome to Fun Volts. Today we're going to show you how to assemble an e-bike. Now this is a Mokwheel and it is the Tarmac. This isn't really a review or anything specific about the Tarmac, we just happen to have it. This is going to be a video that will show you how to assemble just about any e-bike. There are some things we've noticed over the course of assembling probably 15 e-bikes at this point, and we have learned some themes that we think will help you out, some little gotchas to avoid. So watch the whole video, and no matter what e-bike you're assembling, this video should be useful, especially if you've never done it before. So most e-bike companies will send you a box of tools along with the e-bike, but it's a good idea to have your own just in case. So what we recommend is scissors, box cutter, a pair of clippers that are really good for cutting zip ties, a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver, an adjustable crescent wrench, and however many Allen keys / hex keys that you have. These are the tools we like to have on hand to make the assembly go smoothly. And one other thing that's really handy to have is a pair of needle nose pliers, because you can take it, dig into the cardboard a little bit, and just pull these copper staples. There's plenty of ways to get these out, but I find this to be sort of the cleanest and easiest when it comes to opening the box. It's also very handy to have a large trash can available, because there is a lot of waste that's out of here. They've really glued this one. If you do use a box cutter, just be careful not to go too deep into the box, because the seat may be somewhere near the top and you don't want to accidentally cut the seat or any other fragile component. So I'm just kind of sticking to this corner and cutting like that. So as you can see, the seat is right here near the top of the box. So luckily I didn't run the box cutter right down the center and go deep, because I very well could have cut the seat had I done that. Also, one thing that's really helpful when you're assembling an e-bike is to have someone there to help you do things like lift the bike out of the box. I could maybe do this on my own, but it would be a lot easier with somebody else. Luckily, Chris, who is filming this, is also going to help me do things like lift this out of the box, put the front wheel on, etc. Having an assistant is really, really helpful assembling an e-bike. So after you pull everything out of the box, or you think you've pulled everything out of the box, it's really a good idea just to double check, not only to make sure you have like things like this, which is probably all the tools, charger, etc., but also just to make sure that if any little bolts or nuts or screws or anything fell out, you grab them before you throw the box away. And sometimes I've found even that they can fall underneath the folded cardboard. So I like to just kind of reach in there, or you could even just tip it up on its side. I don't see anything or hear anything, so I think we're good to toss this box in the recycle bin, please. One other quick tip: before you throw away all the foam, keep one piece as you're assembling, because a lot of time you'll spend down on your knees doing things like this and all the other stuff you have to do down at the wheel level. So having the foam for your knees is really great. So the clippers are really handy for all these zip ties. You could try to do it with a box cutter, but it could get a little dangerous. But you can see that the clippers just work great to clip right off and remove things. But what we're going to do now is go ahead and take everything out of the boxes, including the front wheel, and just lay it all out so we know what we have. It's a wheel and a fender. And then the tools themselves, let's just see what they provided. As I said, most companies will send you all the tools you need. Look, there you go, wrenches and Allen keys. Zip ties are very handy for e-bikes. The pedals, a screwdriver, and some extra nuts and washers and bolts. Oh, the screen actually comes packed away. That's really nice, actually, because the screen sometimes gets damaged or cracked when it's shipped, so it's nice that they made it a separate little thing. Instructions and the charger, which always good to check and make sure they sent you the right plug adapter for your country, which it looks like they did. I'm going to go ahead and just clip all these zip ties and pull these bits off. Also, while you're clipping things off, there are a lot of cords and wires and such, so just be careful not to accidentally cut one of those. That would be a bummer. All right. Now that we've taken all the zip ties off and all the plastic and such, I'm just going to take a quick look at the instructions. Remove packaging, step 1, done. Handlebar assembly, step 2. So in the interest of using the tools they gave us, which it's a nice little kit that they provide, I'm going to take the bike handlebar stem here and I'm going to loosen 2 of the bolts so that it can be rotated. If you don't know, with a Allen key like this, if you try to do it like this and it's too hard to turn, use the longer edge as your handle, and then you get a little more leverage and it's easier to turn. So this is something we've never seen on another e-bike before. This stem, which holds the handlebars, was facing backwards and we had to rotate it. What we had to do was loosen these 2 bolts right here and then hold the fork, because it was already the right direction, and rotate it while we were holding the fork, kind of like this. And now we want to line it up so that it's pretty straight with the fork. Like if the fork is facing straight ahead, it's also facing straight ahead, something like that. And this brings me to a really big piece of advice. Don't tighten anything all the way down on the bike until you're almost done, because there's going to be little micro adjustments you want to make. And if you tighten things down, you'll just have to loosen them again, and it can be harder to loosen them once you've really tightened them down. So keep everything about 3/4 tight until you're ready to ride, and then definitely tighten it all down to 100% before you go ride. So this is pretty standard for almost all e-bikes, probably for all bikes. It's these 4 little bolts that you want to go ahead and loosen, and there's a clamp. It's like a half clamshell kind of thing. The trick with these is when you tighten them, you want to do it across. So you want to go diagonally. Go to this one first, then the one diagonal, then down here, then diagonal. That way you don't get these 2 too tight, or these 2 too tight, or these 2 too tight. So when you look at your handlebar, you're going to want to put it into this slot. A lot of times it comes with this little crosshair graphic, and that crosshair graphic helps you center it and see what should be forward. So, yeah, there we go. So then this is going to go up on top like that, and you're going to make sure that little crosshair is kind of in the center. And then you're going to take these and you're going to, like I said, start one of them. Just get it going. Let's see if I can get this one going. Okay, once you get it kind of threaded, try to get all 4 of them, just get them started. Just being careful not to cross thread anything. And now this is where I'm just going to get all these very loosely tightened. So I know that sounds strange, loosely tightened, but just get them down maybe halfway. Then I can adjust where the handlebars are before I tighten them down any further. And then this is where you kind of want to go diagonally across as you tighten. So there's our little crosshair, and what we're going to do is just slide it over here to the center and get it kind of right about there. And as you're looking at it, you should be able to see where your brakes and your controls are. They should be in a comfortable position for riding. So I've got it kind of close. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do this one a little more, this one a little more, just enough to hold it in place so that it doesn't slide around while we're finishing the assembly. Again, not going to tighten it all the way down until we're done, but just get it to where it's not going to move, and that looks pretty good. So now, actually, now that we have it there, I'm going to just hand tighten these 2 so they don't slip around anymore. And also, this one here could be adjusted after the fact. So if I want a little more upright riding position, I could put it right there. If I want a little more flat riding position, right there. So I'll leave that until I kind of sit on it and see what I like. Most e-bikes come with a display. Usually the display is already on it, but in this case it's not, but that's okay. This looks like the thing that it's going to mount on, and a lot of times you can tell the top from the bottom by reading. If the thing reads properly, that would be upside down, that would be right side up. You can see the word Mokwheel is there, and it's right side up. So this is the top and that's the bottom. And then obviously there's these little electric connectors. So it looks like it goes like that because those connectors are like that. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen these 2 screws in here and then put these little brackets onto the handlebar here. These are just standard Phillips head screws, so they should be pretty easy to do with the provided screwdriver. One other thing, I'm not going to tighten this all the way down because I want to be able to maybe move it and adjust it, but I will tighten it all the way down before I go ride. So in the case of this, again, it's unusual. This has a little thing you pinch underneath. When you pinch it and put it on there, it just kind of sits in place very nicely like that, and it shouldn't come off. Now is the really fun part. It's the front wheel. Some front wheels have a skewer already through them. Some have quick releases, some use bolts. They're all a little different, but there's a couple of common themes when you put the front wheel on. First of all, make sure you have the brake disc on the correct side. You can always tell by looking at the back. The back wheel is already mounted and it's already got the disc on the right side, on the correct side, which is the left side this time. So make sure to do that. And then the second couple of things are to be sure you pull out the little tiny brake protector, which is a little piece of plastic right here that keeps the calipers from closing. And once you do that, be careful not to close the calipers. This is important to pull out or you'll never be able to get the wheel on. And then in this case, this bike might be an exception to the rule. So normally on an e-bike, it has one of these metal rods that goes right here in the fork to keep the fork protected during transport. It's looking to me like this might be the actual rod that goes on the bike, and they didn't include one of these, but just look at it and see if it looks like it goes with the bike or if it's just a temporary piece like this. This came off of another e-bike and is literally something that could be thrown away or recycled or whatever because it is not part of the bike, it was just for transport. But in this case, it looks like maybe what they included is actually part of the bike. A lot of times too, they will provide a piece of plastic on top of the disc for the brake. This plastic is just to protect it. So there we go. This little piece of plastic was on the outside just to keep this grease and everything protected. So now this is actually going to be our piece that holds the wheel on. So what we're going to do is put this back in here, and then we'll put the wheel on, and then we'll tighten it down. While this is round, it does have two flat sides, and that means it'll only fit in one way, like that. So just if it won't go in, just turn it until it fits in. All right, now this is one of those times when having a friend is very helpful for putting this bike together. So what's going to happen is one of us is going to lift, and then I'm going to put the wheel in, line the brake pad up into the brake slot. Chris is being careful not to hit the brake. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then he's going to lower a little more. And then once that's in, and take this. And then again, I'm not going to tighten it all the way, but I'm going to have Chris lift up. And then I'm going to make sure the wheel turns. Go ahead and hit the brake now. Yep, okay. It feels pretty good, so I am gonna tighten it a bit more just to make sure it's secure. Okay. Don't over tighten though. So now I'm gonna put the kickstand on. I did see two little bolts that were right next to the kickstand. They each have I think what's a kind of a locking washer on them. Some people are not fans of kickstands. I am not for most bikes, but for an e-bike, I tend to be more of a fan of the kickstand. Okay, so it's gonna kick backwards and it's gonna angle out. So be sure however you put it on, it kicks backwards and angles out, not forward and in. That would be bad. So again, another case where don't tighten one of them too far before you do the other one, because it may make the other one not go in straight. Cool. You know, it comes with a front fender. I guess I'll put it on. So most of these e-bikes come with fenders. Personally, I like the plastic ones because they're lightweight and they don't rattle as much as the metal ones do. In most cases, metal tends to be better than plastic, but in this case, it feels like maybe the plastic is superior because of that. And in a lot of cases, you need the fender in order to mount a light. This bike happens to have a light that looks like it's kind of built into the frame. So I don't think you actually need the fender, but I'm gonna look and just see how you would do it. And it looks like what you would do is, I don't know what this is. This is the end of the fender ender. And it's bent a little bit, so it's the fender ender bender. And while I'm doing this, I'm the fender ender bender tender.
I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss book.
Yes. If you think about a fender, it's usually there to keep mud from splatting up onto the rider, especially if they're wearing a skirt. But do I really want to put a fender on it? I really don't want to. So with the fender, you really want it to be there to protect the rider from getting muddy. I think in the instructions, it's actually called a mud guard. And so I'm going to have the fender back like this. There's 3 points of contact on the frame. One is up here. I'm going to go in. Okay. Use these little adjustment points to tweak the angle of the fender so that it doesn't hit the tire. All right, just when you thought you were done with all the hard stuff, there's one more, not hard, but kind of challenging thing to do, and that's to put the pedals on. The pedals are normally labeled L and R for left and right, as are these. That is from the rider's perspective. So they are also threaded in opposite directions. So one of them is going to thread in righty-tighty, and one of them is going to thread in lefty-tighty. The good thing is the crank, in this case, actually shows which direction to tighten. So this one is righty-tighty. It's the right pedal. Sometimes you can't actually turn it by using the pedal itself, so you have to use provided wrench, or you could use your own adjustable crescent wrench. Tighten this down. Now, the really important thing with the pedals is don't cross thread them into the crank, because if you do, you'll have to replace the entire crank, and that's a bit of a pain. If you do have a toolkit that has the appropriate sized wrenches, it's not a bad idea to use it, because for two reasons. These are a little bit thinner than an adjustable wrench, so they'll fit a little better into the slot. That one's too big, so it must be this one. And also, since they're not adjustable, they're built for that size, and so they crank down a little better. So our right pedal looks good to go. With our left pedal, it's going to be lefty-tighty, so just get it in here, finger tighten it, turning it left, counterclockwise, which is a little bit counterintuitive, but it's the way pedals work. If you feel any resistance, stop, because you're cross-threading. There we go. You want to get those nice and tight, because otherwise they'll come off while you're riding. That's no fun. Ask Chris. In the case of this bike, this luggage rack thing is not tightened down onto the fender. It's kind of a last step. This has a quick release, so I'm going to pull the seat up to get it a little bit out of the way, and then I'm going to figure out which Allen key or hex wrench is going to work. I guess the takeaway right here is just look for any other things that don't quite look finished on the bike, like that look like they still need to be done to finalize the assembly. All right, once you've got everything in place and fairly tight, great idea to go through and just make sure everything is actually tight, so that when you go ride it, nothing falls or slips or anything like that. Wouldn't want to go out and try to ride it with it like that. So after sitting on it, it feels like the brakes are a little too flat and need to be angled just a little bit more. So I'm going to loosen this guy. And again, I'm just going to do it diagonally. And then I'm going to angle the whole thing just a little bit down. And now I'll tighten it back up and see how that feels. Yeah, that feels better. So one thing before you tighten the handlebar angle down is good to just hop on and see how the brakes feel, if they're adjustable and easy to reach and you can change gears quickly and easily, then you're probably good to go. So even though the tires might feel like they have enough air, like they feel fairly firm, check the PSI recommendations on the side. These are 40 to 65 PSI is what's recommended. These are Schrader valves, so make sure you have a pump with a Schrader valve connection, and 45 to 65 range. Whew, that's about 50. I'll go a little higher. Okay, looks like it's well over 50. That is tiring. It's like a hit circuit workout or something. Okay. Right at 60. We've pumped the tires. Now, one other thing we haven't done yet is just turn it on and make sure the screen comes on. Oh, look at that. There it is. Brake lights. There we go. Look at that. I like that headlight. So if you own anything else that is an e-transportation device, like a one-wheel or an electric skateboard or a scooter or another e-bike, probably a good idea to label the charger, because you want to make sure you got the right charger with the correct bike. And so I just usually put a piece of tape on it and put, this is called the tarmac, put tarmac on it. It already says Mokwheel on it, so that's gonna at least help me know it's a Mokwheel bike. And then these keys that are used to pull the battery out, I like to put a little key label on it so that I know which keys these go with. Again, the tarmac. And so I'll do that to finalize my assembly, go out for a little test ride after I charge it up and see how it does. So it's always a good idea to charge it to full capacity before you do much riding on it. And also probably a good idea the first time you charge it, at least, or if not every time, to have it somewhere where you can keep an eye on it in case the sparks fly.
Not fun volts. So with most of these e-bike chargers, the light is green. That means it's fully charged because it doesn't have any resistance or it's not plugged in like this. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in right there. And you see that light just turned red.
As soon as it turns green, that means it's fully charged and ready to go. The handlebars went.
Well, okay, never mind.
Yeah, you see that? Yeah, let's not do that. Sorry. That might be kind of funny, actually. I didn't fall.